When I was 5 years old, there was a strange game I used to play where I would gather with my siblings, my cousins, and we'll all be in a single circle, holding our breath and counting using our phones who held their breath the longest. It was suffocating, definitely, but it definitely taught us how to push our limits. It definitely taught us who can withstand those limits and who is considered prematurely the best at holding their breath. And with that game alone, you could see how important air, oxygen was towards us humans, why we need it to survive. And we often look at it at a more physical manner. In this speech, let me take you, Judge, onto a journey where air can be three things different. One, why air can be a breath of influence. Secondarily, how air can be a precursor to limits. And three, how air can be as entitled to your environment. Now, first and foremost, let's go towards the meat of the speech. How can air be influenced? In every part and manner of speech, words come out. That air and gust of wind comes out of your mouth and you speak. But people don't realize the manner and importance of speech or the importance of words. Martin Luther King, a very prominent civil activist, reigned and campaigned for the rights of black people in America because they were not recognized. They did not have solvency to move from one place to another. It was because of his breath of fresh air, fresh ideas, air that circulated thoughts, circulated through the environment where people connected, people understood, people rebelled against the government that did not stand up for them. Secondarily, how can air be a precursor to break limits? We often hear the term a breath of fresh air, but we never oftentimes think about it metaphysically. Why? A breath of fresh air does not just simply mean you thinking about a new idea, but can also mean you breaking through barriers, you breaking through limits, and that becomes a fresh thing because no one has ever done it before. Why? Alex Honnold is a free solo climbist. He climbed El Cap, a 9,000-meter mountain, all alone. But the best thing about it, or the worst thing about it, in my opinion, was that he did that with no rope. He did what no human, no pro climber, no average climber like myself thought was possible. And he taught and inspired all of us, not just to climb a mountain per se, but to climb the mountains, the burdens in our heart, so we could be better than yesterday, so we could push our limits, push through our fears. He mentioned that the fear that comes from climbing those mountains was not just the fear of heights, it was the fear of falling down and dying, and everyone has that fear. But once you overcome the premature fear of dying, and once you elevate yourself towards greater heights, greater precursors of humanity, only then you realize that those boundaries and barriers you put in your mind were just figments of imagination. Last but not least, how can air be important for the environment? Back in the early 2000s, there was a major restructure in Apple. And because of that, Steve Jobs came in and saved the company. He changed the culture on Apple, changed the way how they operated by simplifying complex ideas into one that the public can understand, that the public can comprehend, such as creating iPods with a more simpler and more user-friendly interface. And that generated billions of sales, and it showed us that our environment influences us in ways that we can never imagine possible. The conclusionary closing for my speech is to say this: man can only learn their limits and only test their limits only when they understand that fear is but the precursor to valor, and the strive and triumph in the face of fear is what it means to be a human. Don't think, become you.